And a good afternoon, sir. Thanks for joining us again here on The Fan.
Hey, guys. Good afternoon.
Hey, congrats on the sweep. You're up to number 2 in the Athletics Power Rankings. What was the turning point in your time here?
Well, I think it's too early for any type of rankings. It's been fun. The season's off to a great start. The guys are playing great baseball. It was a fun weekend in Arlington, but we've got a tough road trip ahead of us. And really, I think part of the mindset of our entire group is just one day at a time. I don't too high, too low collectively. I think it's just a very business-like approach, and every day coming to the park expecting to win, and we're going to give it our best on this road trip and hopefully come home and keep it rolling.
What'd you notice from Corey Seager and what he does over the weekend for making things even better?
Yeah, I talked to Boach about it, and I think Boach had some quotes. Just really, Corey's remarkable. I mean, he really had a very short rehab stint in AA, and then he got a little stomach bug at the end of that rehab stint. Caused us not to activate him for a couple days when we thought we were going to have him back. And so really kind of rolls out of bed and just starts hitting again. And it's just amazing to watch. He's so talented. He's so good. And, we thought this when we signed him, and now to see it every day up close in person, year number 2, he is even better than last year. It's just so fun to watch.
Marcus Semien's also been outstanding for you when you look at, him leading the MLB in WAR along with Ronald Acuna Jr. For you, when it comes to Marcus Semien, what sticks out to you, what he's been able to do? Because he was obviously a huge catalyst offensively dealing with Seager and Garver and some of the injuries you've had.
Yeah, his play speaks for itself. What stands out on Marcus for me are some of the intangibles that maybe the average fan doesn't get to see day in, day out, or maybe doesn't quite have the appreciation for. And a perfect example was in the 12-0 game that we lost to Atlanta last Monday night. It was the 9th inning. Marcus came up to bat. He singled to center field. And Marcus busted his tail out of the batter's box, and Michael Harris, their center fielder, bobbled the ball just a little bit. The ball bounced maybe a foot away from him. Harris picks it up, but by that point, Marcus has already decided he's taking second base. And he slides into second in a 12-0 game and takes second base. And while we've still lost the game, what that symbolizes is, arguably our best player playing the game in a way that sets the example for everybody else. And there's been about 5 or 6 plays like that this year that Marcus has done. And at one point I even thanked him for it. And his only response was, see why I don't know any other way to play the game. And I just love that about him. And it's why he sets the tone as leadoff hitter. He sets the table for our group, and just sets a great example. And that to me is what stands out the most about Marcus.
This might put you in a spot. I don't mean to do it, but I was wondering if you have like a favorite player to talk to, either about baseball or other stuff.
I've never really thought about that. I enjoy all of our players. I really do. I think we've got a lot of unique personalities, some really interesting guys, and I enjoy conversations with every single one of them. I welcome them all. And, I think some of the younger guys sometimes maybe get a little shy or timid. They're just not quite comfortable yet, and I understand that. I was a young guy too, and, you're still finding your way. But I really do. I enjoy all of our guys, and there's not one that stands out any more or less than the others.
Hey, CY, this is your weekly scouting question from the former scout guy. So when you're on a roll like this, and things are going along well, is it hard to do other things in your job because you're so focused on making sure that the team continues on the path? Or I know we've got college baseball is going on, we got tournaments coming on and all that stuff, scouting stuff going on. Does it make it even more difficult, trying to kind of have your hand in everything going forward?
No, it really is a great question, because I am trying to spend a lot of time, especially on the amateur scouting side right now. I'm off to the SEC tournament tomorrow. Even when I'm away from the team, even for a few days, much less, a 7-day or 10-day stretch, like I probably will be in during this stretch, you start to feel disconnected. And so I think just being around the big league group, it's the most important part of our organization, obviously, and I want to stay as connected as possible. But really, my relationship and confidence with Bruce Bochy facilitates that. He takes so much off my plate on a daily basis. I can't even begin to tell you how much I just appreciate and admire his ability to handle things, and so it makes my job easier, and in turn I can devote attention elsewhere. That said, I do feel like I am constantly juggling a lot of different areas, and probably not great at any of them, but nonetheless, it's what the job requires.
See why when it comes to evaluating these players in the measurements and in these metrics, like Walchuk just mentioned, Marcus Semien being the league leader in WAR, is that one that is higher up in your mind when you come to evaluate things? Like what are some of the metrics that you look at that you feel like tell the story the best?
Well, I think it depends on the player, and I think with somebody like Marcus, certainly WAR is an important stat. You want to obviously, it sort of encapsulates his overall body of work and performance. But I think it depends on the player. You know, if it's a reliever, they're not going to accumulate a ton of WAR, but are they valuable in certain situations? Do they have favorable matchups that maybe can be advantageous? Same with platoon players or guys that are young, maybe up-down guys. And if we can put those guys in roles that make them successful, WAR may not fully indicate that. So there's a number of statistics that sort of just depend on the player and the role they're in, and how and what the need of the organization is as well.
See why I got to ask a bullpen question. I know that's been the hot topic from fans as well, but you got some really good bullpen performances from Chase Lee in the minor leagues. He threw 6 scoreless innings over 3 relief appearances last week with Round Rock. He was selected as the Pacific Coast League Pitcher of the Week. What can you tell some of our listeners that aren't familiar with Chase Lee about him and your evaluation? Is he a guy maybe that you'd look towards maybe helping the big league club moving forward?
Yeah, certainly Chase is on the radar. We drafted him 2 years ago out of Alabama. He was a walk-on at Alabama. He's a little bit of an unconventional pitcher. It's not super high velocity, but he's got a unique release point, kind of a sidearm type pitcher that creates tough angles for hitters. And Chase had a lot of success at AA, went to AAA last year, pitched well, especially at the end of the season, finished the season really strong, and then now is kind of getting on a roll again at AAA. So certainly Chase is on the radar. We're excited about his future. I think we want to continue to see him as a younger pitcher, have a level of consistency, and be able to get lefties out consistently. I think those are kind of the next steps for him. But, at this point, it's going to be the hot hand. And if Chase is the hot hand, I think at some point he could be in consideration.
Draft in July, pick in 4th. Is there a specific approach or focus that you're looking for at this SEC tournament, or are you in a best player available situation? What's y'all's mindset going in?
Yeah, I mean, I just think the SEC has so much talent in the conference, and there's so many players coming out of that conference. So it's a good tournament to go to. But there are a number of players who are going to be at the top of the draft that play for SEC schools. I've already seen a few of them, but there are a few others I have left to see. And so I think that, from a draft strategy standpoint, it's really we're trying to find the most impactful player that we can access at pick number 4. And this is, it's shaking out to be what looks like a very good draft class. I think it's a great year for us to pick in the top 5, and hopefully it's the last time we're ever picking in the top 5.
Love it.
Hey, well, Chris, being an LSU man, just anybody you want to take from LSU would be great for me. Dylan Cruz, take anybody you want off that LSU team. I mean, they're playing really, really well. I'm glad you're going down and seeing those guys play. But I wanted to ask you this too. You said that that Boach takes stuff off your plate. Does he trust you guys on the other end as far as player evaluation? Does he say, hey, CY, get me anybody you feel like that could play here that fits your type of template I'm good with? Is it that way, or is it that you've kind of learned what they look for in a player going forward here?
Well, I think it's both. I think that, yes, I guess the question would have to be asked to Boach specifically. Do you trust CY in the front office to make good evaluations? And I hope the answer would be yes. But I think that's one of the great things of Boach and his leadership style is he is so collaborative. He's so open-minded. He really asks a lot of questions. He listens to his staff. He asks front office members. He wants to hear, and you just see him a lot of times you'll ask him a question and he just sits there for, 5-10 seconds and just, you can see it processing and him thinking, and he retains everything. I mean, I think Bobby Wilson, our catching coach, said Boach doesn't miss a thing. He really, really takes it all in. He processes, and and digest information very, very well. So, I hope that I have a level of trust with Boch and that he values my opinions. But honestly, he's a Hall of Fame manager, and we should probably just do whatever he wants.
No, you're a Hall of Fame general manager to us, so that's
we've
already established that. So
Yes,
we're not talking anymore
see
about
why
that.
we trust.
Yeah, exactly.
See why this lineup is ridiculous right now. The offensive numbers, like, are you sitting back with a big smile on your face and in all of this the same way we are?
Oh gosh, guys! I mean, it's really impressive to watch these guys day in, day out, and I think that there's a number of factors that have contributed to this, and probably some things that I underestimated as well. I mean, we came into the off season pretty comfortable with where we were offensively. I mean, we didn't make any major upgrades to the offense over the course of the off season. We felt like internally we had some answers. We were happy with the run production that we had last year, and we felt like that was without a couple key contributors that were going to be back, Josh Young and Mitch Garver specifically. And then to come into this season and really to lose Corey pretty early on in the season and to put up the numbers that we have, it's been really, really fun to watch. But I think, one, it's a function of the talent of the players. It always starts with the players, and these guys, they work so hard, and they really complement one another in terms of the lineup and the roster construct and the way they attack a pitcher from, the leadoff hitter through the ninth hitter. But secondly, our hitting coaches deserve so much credit. This is year 2 of the hitting group that we have with Donnie Ecker, Tim Hires, and Seth Connor. And then the continuity with our player development staff and the young guys, kind of learning the same approach and the same philosophies in the minor leagues. And it's just been really, really cool to see all of this come together in year 2 the way we had hoped. And I think just credit should be shared amongst, the hitters and the players themselves, and then the coaching staff. They deserve all of it. They've done a tremendous job. And I'm excited to continue to watch these guys improve over the course of the season.
You mentioned Garver. Any injury updates on DeGrom, Garver, Jankowski, some of your guys that have been out?
Yeah. Mitch and Travis are going out on rehab this week. I think Mitch's will be a little bit longer than Travis's, simply because he's a catcher. He's got to build back up the workload and the volume of catching 9 innings. But we're excited that both those guys are going out. Travis should be a little bit quicker. I'm not sure it'll be as quick as Seager's, but nonetheless, we'll kind of see how that goes over the next few days, and also see what our big league needs are. And then and Jacob is doing great. I believe he threw a bullpen today in Pittsburgh and felt good, so he's making progress. I think we're going to continue to play this a little bit slower than faster, but nonetheless, he's trending the right direction, and we're pretty optimistic as to how things have gone, and hopeful to get him back here, relatively soon.
Are you able to play it slower because of guys like Dane Dunning and people like that taking the ball for you every fifth day?
I mean, yes and no. I think it's great to see the way Dane and the other pitchers have stepped up and just really continued on the winning that has started early in the season, and in Jacob's absence. But I think you always want your top pitcher out there as soon as possible. So, but I think the mindset for us is that when we get Jacob back, it's for the long haul, and we don't want to go through this again. So let's get it right on the front end and make sure that that he's good to go for the rest of the season. And that's the goal with it. And, but that said, Dane and everybody else has done a tremendous job. What Nate Eovaldi's done, and then Heaney has strung together some great starts. John Gray, and of course Martin Perez is so reliable. So it's really a fun rotation to watch. They complement each other really, really well, and I know they're competitive with each other in a great way. And they each want to go pick the team up every time they pitch. So it's been fun. And once we get Jacob back, it'll be even more fun.
Do you guys ever think about breaking out the brooms in the office after a big sweep like over the weekend, or do you leave it to us knuckleheads in the fan base?
I leave that alone, because I know how hard it is to win, a series, much less sweep a series. And at some point, that's going to be us. On the other end of it, I have I don't tempt the baseball gods in terms of that. Really, the highs are not high, and I don't let the lows get too low either.
I love it. A wise man. Rangers Pirates pregame coming up at 5. Give them hell, CY. We'll be pulling for you.
Guys, great talking to you, and talk to you next week.
Always, man. I love it.